to have to deal with the scars on this girl's mind, her brain. You don't just bounce out of that. If you've been through rape, you know somebody that has, it changes a person forever and takes her innocence away. And that wasn't fair, and we can do something about it. But instead of doing something about it, these loony liberals, they are deciding, well, you know what? We're just going to allow them to continue on getting sanctuary, and we're going to protect them. And we don't care what Trump's federal law says. We're going to go against it, and we are going to stand, and we're going to allow more of these degenerates to get away with things like this. Now, how fair does that sound? Doesn't sound very fair to me, and it shouldn't sound very fair to you. Any reasonable person, you want it to happen to your kid? It will. It will happen if we allow it to happen. The vetting process, important. Who comes into our country, important. Every other country does it, but then we're called racists, we're called bigots, we're called homophobes. Every word in the book by liberals to these progressives that think that they're so far above and evolved so much further in human evolution that they allow this to be their narrative, their religion. You know, I talked from time to time and make mention about Barack Hussein Obama, you know, Barack Obama, and Hillary Rotten Clinton loving the book Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. That's their narrative. Read the book, dedicated to Satan. You wonder, is there not an evil in the world that blinds the eyes of unbelievers? Even the Bible says that. Where people think that the evil is good. And they don't know that good is not evil. But that's ungenerated man with the lack of God compass in their lives. They have no northern latitude. There's no North Star. There's no governance. I guess that's what I was trying to say. They don't have a rock. It's just ridiculous. Here's what some people had to say after the meeting in Rockville last night with parents. I guess they were trying to console the parents, because a lot of parents are obviously worried, and this is what several had to say.
But I know that if this country enforced the laws that are already on the books, those two young men would not have been here, and this rape, this horrendous rape, would not have occurred.
I'm really outraged by the situation in Montgomery County. I'm a lifelong resident.
They're just, come in. You're 20 years old, come on in. Go to high school with a 14-year-old.
And there you go. Come on in and go to high school with a 14-year-old. She's looking really nice. And minding her own business. And we decide to take her into a bathroom and take her virginity. Have at it. Have at it. Absolutely disgusting. And it should outrage, like I say, everyone that listens to this broadcast. But this is why, folks, the movement with Donald Trump was so big, because of the insanity, because of the lack of decency, the lack of conscience, the lack of morality. It's dissipated greatly in the times that I've lived here on this planet for what now, 40-something years. I'm not going to give you the exact age. Some of you know my age. But I've lived enough to see it. In the breakdown, and they thought the 80s was pretty bad. But what you see now on television and what now is called the Democratic Party and what they stand for has changed dramatically. There doesn't seem to be any governance. And geez, if we can remove God as fast as possible from any place that references the major, the baby Jesus, or Merry Christmas. Donald Trump says, I'm going to say Merry Christmas, not Merry Xmas or Happy Holidays. It's Merry Christmas. It's Christ's birthday. There's a reason why, folks, in case you didn't know, why we actually base our time AC and BC. It's known worldwide. It's universal. It's recognized. After Christ and before Christ. We judge time on the birth of Jesus Christ, and it's by no mistake, folks. It's by no mistake. I happen to be a Christian, not a perfect one, but one that tries to live by the golden rule each and every day, to do unto others as you'd have them to do unto you, and to give back and be generous and be loving and not being a hater. And for some reason, some people think that the right it has hate and vengeance, and we have no tolerance for other religions, no tolerance for other people, and the furthest is the truth. From most good Republicans that I know, or conservatives, they call them, whether the Tea Parties or the Independents, the Green Parties, I don't see malice. You're always going to get some flakes. You're always going to get some idiots that are going to do things, say things. But I've never heard anything out of Donald Trump's mouth that would have me to believe that he is against gays, LGBTQ, that they're offended by the gays. Donald Trump has gays working for him in the Trump organization, or did, and still work for his organization. They're big contributors. If he didn't like ladies, why are so many in charge of his organization? Why is his daughter running the place? Values the opinion of women. We could go down this the thing with, well, why did he say these things about women? Well, show business is a funny and strange thing, and when you're surrounded by so many conversations that women shouldn't hear, and when they're recorded and conversations brought, we saw it. But all of that, even used against them, did not affect the voters. Even Jerry Falwell and most evangelicals stood behind him because of the very mere fact they saw the logic in Donald Trump in making the decision to make him commander-in-chief. We need somebody strong. We need somebody focused. And my advice to Donald Trump is, with his wiretapping and all that, let the investigations begin, let the hearings continue, but concentrate on the campaign promises to keep the country safe. We just had a terrorist attack in London. This could be New York City today. This could be Philadelphia. This could be Newtown, a small town. It could be anywhere USA where somebody could do this. We just need to look out for our borders, look out for its people, and stop being selfish. Because when you ignore its citizens, everybody else around you that actually voted in your office, voted you. We're not talking the paid voters. We're talking about voters that voted of conscience and decency. And I'm not so far above to say that I'm the most decent and moral person there is, an almighty Keith Allen, because if you're on the other side of the equation, no, I'm not sitting here doing this. I'm just saying that all of us should never, ever take this lightly. But there's no making this something different than what it is. There's an attack on our way of life. Our way of life. And when you have people that are wanting to change the direction and trajectory of what has made our country great, and I say from the nucleus family, oh yeah, I'm a traditionalist, sorry, but no apology, really. I'm sorry if I offended you. But I just believe that there are things that are constant in mathematics and space and time. And there's things in God's word that I think hold true. And I think that all of us thinking rational thoughts, some rationale going on, we need to seek God above for clarity. And pray for our politicians, no matter where they stand. that they actually were enlightened to make these decisions for all of us. Because we send these congressmen to Washington to represent our states. We put them in, and we hope that they represent us. And you might be living in one of those states where you're one of those strange conservatives. You're one of those Trump people. Shh. You voted for who? You know what I'm talking about. There's some things that Donald Trump says that I think is a little brash. Should have kept quiet. Shouldn't have said some of the things that he says, maybe about this judge thing. But there's corrupt judges, folks. There's corruption in police departments. There's corruption in government at the highest levels. We just saw it with Barack Obama. We just saw it with Susan Rice. She's trying to lecture everybody else around her and can't even take responsibility for her own failings, especially with Benghazi. That's another story, but just horrible. They can call out everybody else's flaws, but they can't apologize when they do something wrong. So House Majority Leader Nancy Pelosi, she was on with CNN's Anderson Cooper. Yeah, occasionally I'll switch on just to see. And occasionally, actually, I say to myself, here's a program, because CNN's failing ratings, they really are just like the New York Times, really bad ratings. But Cooper, I think, was trying to do a halfway decent job, at least on Tuesday night, which was last night, and basically interviewing Pelosi about, failing numbers and why the Dems did so bad, yada, yada, yada. Well, here's Nancy Pelosi with Anderson Cooper on CNN.
The leader of the Democratic Party right now.
Well, President Obama was the president of the United States until just a matter of weeks ago. I don't think that he can be dismissed as the leader of the Democratic Party. Hillary Clinton did not win the election, but a respected leader. But we have leaders for all different aspects of it. The Democratic Party is a congressional party, and we have leaders in Congress. It is a gubernatorial party, and leaders.
But on the state level, it is a party which has suffered tremendous losses in the last couple of years.
It has, but we have a plan to address that.
So there's not one standard bearer that you see as the leader of the Democratic Party.
We're not in a presidential. We're not in a presidential time.
Oh,
just finally, when you think about 2020, when you think about the next presidential race, I mean, how do you think Donald Trump is going to make it 4 years? Do you think?
I don't know. It's up to him. It's up to him if he obeys the law. But I'm not thinking of 2020. I'm thinking of 2018, a matter of a year and a half from now, but almost a little more than a year and a half from now. The first referendum on Donald Trump will come forward.
Madam Leader, thank you very much.
Interesting enough, Pelosi didn't even mention the newly elected leader of the Democratic National Committee, Tom Perez, who served as the Secretary of Labor under Obama. And interesting enough, folks, did you know that Hillary Rodham Clinton may decide to run in 2020? Yeah, that's through the grapevine, through Politico, The Blaze, kind of reading over some of that stuff. Yeah, she gave a speech, and it was kind of like a campaign speech. So if Hillary can, stay on her blood-thinning medications for the bump on her head, keep that blood thinned, she might run in 2020. It'd be interesting and be great fodder and conversation for talk radio. I would totally rule against it. I think it would just be deplorable. I mean, Trump would literally have to implode, in my opinion. I mean, literally crash and burn, and so many horrible things would have to just happen in order to allow her to be able to recapture that. And I just say this, and I've said this even during the whole campaign process, that the Democrats couldn't have done any better. Even Biden, it pains me to say this, Gaff Biden, pains me to say, even him, to me, would have been much more decent and less bones, seriously, less bones than Hillary Clinton, because we know how corrupt and how greedy this woman is, where they left the White House broke. All the foreign money that they received, and they've cashed their checks. And, of course, the slush fund, we have Dr. Pat Choate, from time to time, very periodically. We just had him on last week, talking about using the foundation, the Clinton Foundation, as a slush fund. and greatly cashing checks from it